Hey, it's Zeb here, and I'm super excited because today's the day we get Polyculture Paddock in the ground. So we've been working on this thing we call the Polyculture Paddock method, and it's a diverse horticultural implementation scheme. And we've really been doing it mostly because it's a really low input, easy way to get an abundant garden. It's sort of trialing with this backyard companion planting, sowing out with seeds and then planting them out. And in my backyard, although it's fun and rewarding, I was finding that only every now and then I'd actually be able to get harvest out of that. And so I was like, how do we get something that's going to sustain us more fully and use the sort of equipment that we have on the farm? And so that's what we've been working on. And so in permaculture, we're sort of learning about this chaos gardening. You'd mix a bunch of seeds at the end of sowing and scatter them somewhere. But then with the regenerative agriculture and our multi-species blends, and we're finding we can sow all these different seeds together, a broad bean and a phacelia and a kale. And we're just like, well, can we use the horticultural crops and do the same thing? And so sure enough, we've been talking to King Seeds and got out the catalogue and got really excited about this type of blends that we can put together. The method has been really useful for us in a farming context because we don't have that much time, and yet I want a really large garden. With Browning Horse coming up, and that was when we first sort of developed it, was like, how do we go from this gardening that I was doing to feed myself to all of a sudden wanting to create salads and roasties for 800 people coming to the event. And so it was really just like, how do we scale up? And so it's been really awesome for us as we've been working over the last couple of years. And then we designed the method because we thought, yeah, it's really actually, this system has more value than just what we're doing ourselves, but it could really be quite significant for, national food security is really what I think. So we've done it in the Riversdale Community Garden, a really easy way of just, starting a garden without that much, hands-on labor to go in at front. And then also just thinking, councils, we're hearing about councils wanting to minimize the amount of grass that they're managing because it's really, we're having to mow and spray and all these sorts of things. So it's like, one upfront input with this, and then you leave it, and it's going to provide biodiversity which will feed the insects and bird life and the soil, and also it's creating a whole bunch of food crops that we can just go and harvest amongst. And so one of the beautiful things about it is once we're ready, it's creating this absolutely lush garden. And when you're harvesting amongst the polyculture paddock, it's this like deep ancestral thing that really gets me excited about it all. But this video is all about the implementation. So let's go get the machines and we'll get this stuff into the ground. So seed selection is one of the real joys of this process. And like I said, we just got the King Seed catalogue in first year, flipped through and just got the highlighter. Oh, I want some of that, oh, we'll try some of that. And over the last couple of years, we have had some different blends, and we've worked and we've seen what have we sowed and what's actually come up. And there has been failures, of course. The beauty of harnessing diversity is you don't notice the failures so much because there's just so much going on. But we have sort of narrowed it down to 3 different mixes that we think are really going to suit the needs of what we're hoping to achieve. In previous years, we've ordered a whole bunch of individual varieties and ordered them up and mixed them together. So we've been doing all sorts of flowers, all sorts of leafy green mixes, and all sorts of root crop mixes. And we've sort of put them into those 3 different categories because when it gets to harvest time, and we've got, whether it's Browning Horse volunteers or something, we can sort of say, this space is the leafy green, so everything you cut is going to be edible. over here is the Rampant Roots. So if we dig it up, we know underground there's going to have, have the radishes and turnips and carrots. And then we wanted a multitudinous mix because there's calendulas and borage and herbs of all sorts of nature. We've also had some perennial varieties in the multitudinous, and that was just about getting a bunch of varieties that we're sort of excited about and putting them together. So yeah, and previously we've just mixed it together and come up with some ratios, but this year we've been talking to King Seeds and they've come up with some of these blends for us. And so here we have it, Rampant Roots, Luxuriant Leaves, and the multitudinous mix. And we'll put a link, well maybe we'll just add in the varieties of what these mixes are in the description so you can check it out there. But it's pretty awesome having these just arrived like this. And I would just give a shout out to King Seeds, and I've said this many times before, but I'll say it on film now. I think they're a national treasure. Some countries don't have the availability of seeds, especially on the range and diversity that they have. And it's not just King's, we have a really, really good seed system in New Zealand. And it's just something to acknowledge, because it's really important when we're talking about some of the food security issues that might arise in the coming years. So having this source of just like, I want these flowers, or I want these vegetable crops, yeah, good stuff, Kings, and super excited that we've got these pre-mixed. So I've been trying a few different methods of how to prepare the seed bed before getting the drill out. And obviously we've got cultivation, which is what we've done here. Just, we've got the plough out and then we've churned it up with the rotor spike, and that can be perhaps a little intimidating if you're watching this and like, how does this apply to me as a gardener? So we've also just tried putting plastic on the ground and leaving that for a couple of months, and then we can take it off and then just scatter seeds on top and maybe put some compost over top. So it really can be done by hand as well. But what we're doing here is just sort of on this like farm large scale. So we've got the tractors out and we've got the machines here, and yeah, the Polyculture Paddock method that was sort of designed in such a way to implement, like, we're talking about a paddock scale. This isn't backyard permaculture scattering it around. It's really, how do we take those principles and apply them at an industrial scale? In saying that, it can be done at a backyard scale as well, and we've done some of those, and it's been pretty exciting as well. Just preparing and doing it by hand has been pretty fun. This here we're doing with the drill. So yeah, we've cultivated and we've got it about 3.3 meters wide, which is the width of the drill. The other one, as well as cultivating, is just using a chemical application, and we've used that in places that isn't so suitable for cultivation, such as the community garden and on the roadsides. And we've done that more with the multitudinous mix, where it's more flowers and herbs, just because we're sort of not wanting to spray where we're going to be eating. And both have had their benefits. When we go no-till, it doesn't disrupt the soil life so much. But yeah, it does require that application. So we've got our seeds, we've got our seed bed. Now let's go get the drill and start getting some of those seeds in the ground.